Hey everybody, welcome back to another video within the AWS Solution Architect series. And in this video, we'll be talking about different layers of security that's being offered by the AWS infrastructure and different layers of security that we can ensure for our EC2 instances. So let's start with region. So first and foremost, we have a region which are separated by continents. One country or multiple countries can make a one region, and every region has different availability zones. So we have availability zones, also known as AZs for short. So you can have like one availability zone in a specific area of your country, and a few kilometers away you can have another availability zone. These availability zones are mostly known as, to be data centers eventually. And in every availability zone, you can have your hardware intact. So it's like one availability zone can have your EC2 instance that's running. But what you can do, you can specify that either it's encapsulated in some sort of a network, which can be known as like a VPC, which is like a virtual private sort of a network, which you can configure and you can ensure one layer of security. And another layer of security that you can have for these instances is something that encapsulates the EC2 instance directly. And these are known as the security groups. So normally whenever you spin up a EC2 instance, they come default with a security group. You can also create your own security groups and you can configure them the way you want. But just for the sake of understanding, you just need to know whenever you do that, whenever you spin up an EC2 instance, there is a default security group allotted to your account, which it uses. So these security groups can sort of, let me add a few pointers for security groups over here. So firstly, they only contain allow rules. Only contain allow rules. When I say allow rules, obviously they specify to certain IP addresses. So you can add all of those here in this particular fashion. Then one security group is not specific to a one particular EC2 instance. Instead, it can be attached to multiple instances. So one security group, multiple instances. Perfect. Another pointer is that each security group, in terms of initialization, they are locked to a region and VPC combination. So you would have a specific region over here, and then all the way down to VPCs. So this is the kind of combination that a security group would be locked down to. So you can sort of remember this particular bit for the sake of examination. And then point number 4, normally whenever you spin up an EC2 instance machine, and if you're trying to sort of access it, or you're trying to run a particular application on an EC2 instance, and if it gives you timeouts, then that's definitely something wrong with your security group or the rules associated with those security groups. So if you get timeouts, check your security groups. Check your configs with security groups. Perfect. So yeah, another bit that you do need to sort of know in terms of uh, accessing your EC2 instance, because if you're getting a timeout during accessing your EC2 instance, then that's also something that you need to configure. So normally whenever how can you access your EC2 instance? That is through, let me switch the colors here. So access your EC2 instance. Not specific to exam questions, but you can be asked, like, you never know. So you use SSH, and there are two ways through which you can do that. So if you're using a Mac, if you're a Linux user, or if you're a Windows user, which has Windows version is greater than 10, then you can just use SSH right away. But if you are a Windows specific user, then we have another software for you, which is known as PuTTY, and you can use it. And there's another way you can use it. So that's like point number one. Point number two. Point number three is you can use EC2 instance control. So it brings up the terminal within your cloud, similar to your terminal in your local machine. So since it resides within your cloud experience, it doesn't really matter if you're using Mac, Linux, or Windows. So it's like a more simplified experience. So these are the three ways through which you can access your EC2 instance. And yes, this can show up in your exam questions. So when I say that you can get timeouts, even when you're trying to sort of use SSH or even instance control, then you need to make sure that your allow rules are intact. So you need to make sure that whatever IP you're using, they're basically allowed on the security group level. So yeah, that's pretty much everything about security groups, and I'll see you in the next video.